Hello Internet, it's Noel and thanks for visiting my little corner of YouTube. Now today I'm going to be looking at one of the newest headphones in AKG's professional studio monitoring lineup. These are the AKG K371 over-ear closed-back foldable studio headphones. Now Metal571's done his review and he's given these a glowing review when it comes to sound. And spoiler alert, he's not wrong, but we do have a few more things that we need to talk about. Right, so these are AKG's new K371 studio headphones, and let's start with the specification as always. So they have 50mm drivers, a frequency response of 5 Hz to 40 kHz, an impedance of 32 ohms, and a sensitivity of 114 decibels, and they weigh a reasonably light 255 grams. So the AKG K371 comes in this really durable carrying pouch. It feels like a really tough material on the outside, and there's plenty of room inside for the headphones themselves. The carrying pouch is actually lined with a fleecy material, which is really good. So the headphones themselves, they fold up like this, and there we go. This is what they're like when they're unfolded. So I'll put those aside just for a moment and we'll take a look at those in a minute. So they also come with 3 cables. So we have a 1.2 meter straight cable. We have a 3 meter straight cable. And both of these cables are nice and soft and flexible, and they don't tangle too easy. And it also comes with this. This is a 1.2 meter that stretches out to 5 meters, is what it's claimed, coiled cable. Now I have a bit of a problem with this cable. The rubber that it's made of is extremely stiff. It feels kind of plasticky, and that means that it can be quite noisy when it drags across the desk. Also, it's extremely stiff and it really holds the kinks. So if I was to stretch this one out and then let go, you'll see that it springs back. And that's because when it was shipped, it was coiled up rather tightly like this, and now it just keeps wanting to return to this shape. Now, one thing that I do know about the K371s, and this, in particular this cable, but all cables that I've tried on it, is it's quite microphonic. It really transmits a lot of the cable noise rubbing against your clothing or against the desk into the headphones, and you can really hear that. And this cable is probably the worst of the lot. Now, thankfully, the cable for the Beyerdynamic DT1990 Pro is also compatible, and this is a much softer and much more flexible rubber. Now the cable connects to the headphones using a mini XLR. This is a 3-pin mini XLR, like so. And it locks into place. At the other end of the cable, we have a 3.5mm connector with a screw-on 1/4-inch adapter, which is always good to see. Now, with regards to how easy they are to drive, with an impedance of 32 ohms and a sensitivity, pretty incredible sensitivity of 114 decibels, you should be able to drive these on pretty much anything that you want. That means that low output audio interfaces, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, whatever it is, you're going to be able to run these with no problem. In fact, with my O2 amp, I can't really turn it up above maybe 9 o'clock before it's more than adequately driven. Let's take a look at the headphones themselves, and we'll start with the build and comfort. The overall build quality is this really nice mix of soft touch plastic or rubbery material with metal that has this really premium feel in the hand, way more premium than you'd expect for this price. The top of the headband has this leather-like texture to it. It actually smells like new trainers or sneakers for our American pals. So as you can see, the AKG logo is embossed along the top. This really does feel and look quite nice. The inside of the headband is a kind of a silicone material, like a rubbery material. Now, I'm not a big fan of this. This is very similar to the headband on the Sennheiser HD 4.50 wireless Bluetooth headphones, which you can find a link up here for. I did the review on those. I wasn't keen on that headband at all, and that was also a rubbery material. But with this headphone, the padding is much deeper, it's much softer, it feels quite nice. Obviously the headband is much wider as well, so it spreads the weight out a bit more. It does still pick up bits of hair and dust and whatnot, and if this was more leatherette material, it probably wouldn't do that. So at least this doesn't feel like sticky or tacky or anything like that, which, you know, rubber headbands like this can tend to do that. Now, the padding's pretty good. I did notice some discomfort on really long listening sessions, but for the most part, this is a fairly light headphone, and I didn't find it was too bad. So the ear cup yokes, they're not really like ear cup yokes on any other headphone, but these seem to be made of metal, and they have this nice gunmetal finish to them. As I showed earlier, the ear cups do actually swivel up into the headband like so. Of course, that does mean that you have to disconnect the cable in order to do so. So the headband adjustment has a ratchet mechanism, and it works by sliding the headband and this yoke together like this. Now, this adjustment is probably the biggest weakness with this headphones, and I think they could have done a much better job than this. I find that it adjusts far too easy, and I'm constantly having to readjust this. And you can see how easy that's adjusting just by me handling the headphones. It's a little bit annoying to get adjusted right. And for someone like me who can get a little bit obsessive about lining them up perfectly on both sides, only to then have it adjust like that with the slightest bit of force, is really a bit frustrating. Now, the ear cups themselves don't have a huge amount of rotation for adjustability and for comfort's sake. They have a limited range like so, and they only have a tiny amount of vertical movement. But as the chassis of this headphone is quite flexible, I don't think that's really that much of a problem. Now, the earpads themselves are absolutely fantastic. They don't look that much bigger than some other monitoring headphones, but these do actually have a good 10 millimeters more length than the Audio-Technica M series line, for example. They have a significant amount more depth to them. They feel like a memory foam. They definitely have this nice soft squidgy feel. These are really, really comfortable. I'm very impressed with the comfort for these. One negative that I do have with these earpads is that they tend to get a little bit hot and sweaty for long listening sessions. That's something I don't usually have a problem with leatherette style earpads. I suppose it is par for the course for this type of earpad. Now, some people have reported that these headphones are quite sensitive to seal, and as with any closed-back headphone, the bass performance of the headphone is very reliant on the earpads getting a good tight seal with your head around your ears. And when the ear cups don't seal correctly, it can affect the bass performance of the headphone quite considerably. Now, this tends to be particularly a problem for people who wear glasses. Now, I wear glasses myself, and my glasses have a fairly thick frame. However, I didn't actually find I had too much problem with sealing with these headphones with my glasses. So it might just be more about the shape of your head, I'm not sure. But I did occasionally notice a loss of seal when I was moving around, such as turning my head or bending down. It's an effect not too similar to like a pressure change in your ears, and then there's a tonal change to the sound. On the whole, it wasn't a big deal. It was only a momentary loss of seal, and it only happened when I was moving my head around. Overall then, regards to build and comfort with these headphones, I'm actually really happy with these. I didn't find I had any issues really with the discomfort, apart from the occasional sweaty ears and maybe a little bit of pressure for really long listening sessions. Now, for me, they're never going to be as comfortable as the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pro, but I find there are very, very few headphones out there that are that comfortable. But when compared to many other headphones in the studio monitor space, these are just light years ahead in terms of comfort. So whilst I was doing this review, the ear cups yokes have started to come away from the headband. This little piece here seems to be like a screw-in piece, but it seems to have become unscrewed here, and that is causing the earpad to become floppy. I've tried to screw it back together again, however, it's not screwing back as tightly as the one on the other side, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Okay, I'm getting on live chat with AKG now, we'll see what happens. AKG have told me I need to contact Amazon because that's where I purchased them from in the UK. So let's get on with Amazon. Oh, God's sake. So I've arranged a return with Amazon, and they just do an advanced return with these. So they're going to send another one out. It probably won't arrive here until Monday. I'll then have to return these within 30 days. Right, so it's been a couple of days, and I've got the replacement through. These seem to be in good condition, so that's good. Now, I look back at some of the footage that I did a couple of days back, and I could see actually that this left ear cup was already on its way out when I was demonstrating a few things on it. Now, something else I noticed that while I was demonstrating how easy these were to adjust, I was using this left side, so it might have given a false impression of how easy it was to adjust. But if I swap it back over with the new ones, while it isn't quite as easy as I showed earlier, it is still pretty easy to adjust. So it only takes a really light touch in order to adjust them. See that? I wasn't really pushing that hard on that. But one thing I did want to point out about why this pair failed, or how this pair failed, is that on this adjuster here, you can see this little circular part. There seems to be a rubber cap on the top of it, and it seems to be glued on. From the feel of it, there's a screw inside it, so this could just be a washer with a screw inside and then covered with a rubber sticker. So there's a chance that I could have tightened this up, but that would have meant peeling this rubber sticker off to do so. I really don't think that I should be doing that to a brand new pair of headphones that I've had for less than a week. Now this is interesting, something I want to point out on this new pair that I've received. So this logo here seems to be 3 cardioid polar patterns in a cloverleaf shape. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but at the bottom there, the silver leaf that's laid in there is actually peeling out already. And I've literally just got these out of the box. Now this might not seem like a big deal, but this is a brand new headphone and the logo is peeling off of the headphone already. And I really don't think that a brand new pair of headphones that I've had for less than a week should have a finish issue like that regardless of price. So I've stuck this logo back down by running a fingernail around there. So it's not that much of a big deal, but I don't know how long it's going to be before it lifts up again. And to be quite honest, this has come straight out of the box like this. I shouldn't have to do their finishing for them, regardless of the price of this headphone. Come on, AKG, you can do better than this. Now, I don't want to be too harsh on AKG about this. They probably just need to bring this up with the quality control in the factory making these. But this doesn't fill me with confidence. And when this is marketed at professionals, this is a professional headphone. And professional headphones take a lot of daily abuse and need to be able to survive that. And if they can't survive it, they need to be repairable. Now, the DT770, the HD25, for example, are really like every single part on those headphones can be replaced by the end user. You just order the parts from a headphone parts supplier, repair them yourself, and job done. With these don't appear to be user repairable at all, which means that they need to be bomb-proof and last well beyond their warranty period. Otherwise, for a professional use, they're just not going to last. Anyway, I'm not going to dock them too many points for this. I am concerned, but I think as a whole package, this is a really great headphone still. So I'm going to carry on with the next part of this video, which is to take a look at their sound quality. So it's claimed that AKG have tuned the K371 to adhere as closely as possible to the Harman target. Now, as someone who's a big fan of the Harman target, this is really quite exciting for me. And this is also really good news for musicians, both amateur and professional, and other audio professionals like video editors and whatnot. The Harman target is widely being accepted as the ideal frequency response for a headphone. This is because the Harman target attempts to replicate on a headphone the sound of a good speaker in place in an actual studio environment. So in theory, a Harman target headphone will sound like good monitor speakers in a proper studio control room. And it's for this reason that the target response used by Sonarworks is quite close to the Harman target. And sure enough, the AKG K371 sounds very, very close to the Harman target, if maybe a little bit bright. A bass is very, very deep, but not necessarily particularly loud. And they do measure quite elevated compared to the Harman target. However, they don't sound so elevated. The sub bass is there, but it's not super powerful. They're not bass cannons. Now, they don't really roll off in the sub bass, so it has really good and present sub bass, but it's not really overpowering or anything like that. Now, there is actually a fairly large dip in the mid bass, and some people may want to EQ that out. You don't get the big, heavy bass thump of something like a DT770 Pro, but this sounds much, much cleaner, if a little sterile. And despite how it looks on measurements, it's not quite as deep, full, and rich as the HD650. Now, mid-range is exceptionally flat, with only really a small rise just after 2K. Mid-range on these is really exceptional. Treble is a little bit uneven and maybe a little bit grainy. However, I've yet to see a headphone that is perfect in its treble response. And certainly it's one of the best that I've ever seen, and whenever it does stray from the target, it doesn't stray by much. Now, there are a couple of peaks that can make them sound a little bit bright on some tracks, most notably around 6 to 8 kHz and 13 kHz. However, interestingly, I actually found the HD6XX or 650 to sound brighter than these on some tracks. So on the whole, then, they sound really fairly balanced. They don't sound aggressive or exciting or fun. There's nothing that really stands out from its sound signature. And that makes them remarkably transparent. And really, that is exactly what one should expect from a professional headphone like this. Audio-Technica. Now, imaging is pretty decent. It's not up to the same level as the HD4XX and the DT1990 Pro, but it's at least as good as the HD6XX, if not a bit better than that. Soundstage is pretty good for a closed-back headphone. And actually, I didn't really notice that much difference between the HD6XX, the DT770 Pro, and these when it came to soundstage. So that is to say, they wouldn't have a wide soundstage for an open-back headphone, but for a closed-back headphone, it's not bad. Now, I ran these through my usual list of reference tracks and A-Bing them with the DT770 Pro, which is my standard monitoring headphone, and also using the HD6XX as a point of reference. So on Talk Talk by a Perfect Circle, I thought they sounded reasonably spacious, bass is fairly articulate, more so than on the DT770 Pro, which in comparison actually sounds quite a bit brighter and not as articulate in the low end, although the bass on the DT770 Pro has a lot more authority. Now, unsurprisingly, the K371 is not on the same level as the HD650. Now, they do manage to sound warm enough to not be cold, but also not so warm as to be muddy or bloated. So can you say Goldilocks? They're just right. And Maynard's vocals were so lively on the K371s. They sounded so forward and punchy, and snare hits and toms were fantastic on these. Guitar riffs were full-bodied and crunchy, even djenty. Again, the HD6XX was much better, but that's to be expected. The DT770 was noticeably not as good as these. There's a screaming, delayed, reverberated guitar part that starts at about 3 minutes and 10 seconds. And on these, it was well presented and cutting. Not as bright as on the HD6XX. It was quite bright on those. In fact, it was actually the brightest of the three. But on the DT770 Pros, that was the least detailed of all three. So on Polaris by Deadmau5, the K371 produced a warm and cutting synth lead with excellent clarity. Not as warm as the HD6XX, but much warmer and more detailed than on the DT770. The kick was full, punchy, and bassy without sounding bloated or flabby. Now the HD6XX beats it here, of course, and perhaps the K371 and the DT770 for the kick actually sounded kind of similar, with the 770 sounding a little bit thicker, but less detailed. What I found really, really noticeable about these was just how much clarity they had. And just like I said with my HE4XX review, which you can see up here, the HD6XX really takes it away when it comes to the bass reproduction. It has the warmest sound signature, the most clarity and detail of all three headphones. And that is to be expected, of course. Now, I'm not comparing this headphone to the HD6XX and 650. I'm just using it there as a point of reference. So overall then, I think the K371s for music production, video editing, and other professional use, these are really, really impressive. They not only make excellent monitoring headphones, but their frequency response is so close to neutral that they'll probably make pretty good mixing headphones for light mixing duties. So I think they'd probably be invaluable to bedroom producers who may not have properly treated rooms on which to mix properly with their monitor speakers. And normally if I wasn't mixing on speakers, I'd be mixing on the HD6XX or DT1990 Pro corrected with Sonarworks. However, with these, because they're so neutral, I think you could probably get away with not using any EQ on these at all. And there's an added bonus to that. Because they're also so portable, that means that you can take these anywhere with you, even somewhere where you don't have access to EQ, and be able to have a consistent sound signature to work with wherever you are. And for that reason, I can see these becoming an absolutely invaluable tool in any professional's arsenal. As for casual use, they tick all the boxes. They've got the sound quality, they've got the comfort, they've got the portability, they've got the price right, they can be driven off pretty much anything. There's really a lot to like about this headphone. Build issues aside, I'd have absolutely no problem recommending these to anybody who's looking for a neutral headphone. Audio enthusiasts, audiophiles, musicians, producers, field recordists, and video editors, you name it, this headphone is now the benchmark to beat. And one of the reasons I wanted to try these is because I wanted a nice, easy to drive headphone that I could drive easily off any audio interfaces and I can use for music production. So for that, this has replaced my DT770 Pro. Now, if we can just get the build quality issues sorted out with these, it remains to be seen how widespread this issue is, and perhaps I'll do a follow-up video on that later. But build issues aside, even with the annoyances about the adjustability with these, I think these are an absolutely fantastic headphone, and they're now the benchmark to beat when it comes to a professional closed-back headphone. So there we are then. That's going to be it for this review. If you like this, then give me the thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, and all of that business. And let me know down in the comments what you think of these. And also, if anybody else has had any issues with build on theirs, then do leave that in the comments as well, and we'll see how widespread this issue is. Now, I'm going to have a lot more videos like this coming out soon. So if you want to see those, then do get subscribed. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a good one.